How you on YouTube? We're going to do a little video on paper patch and bullets. First thing we're going to go over is why would you want a paper patch? And for me, the initial start was to basically copy Quigley. I'd also heard from another gentleman that I used to work with about 30 years ago that paper patching was the way to go when it came to any cast lead bullet. You don't have to worry about bullet lubes. You don't have to worry about all these other things that you typically have to deal with when it comes to bullet lubes, which is where I think a lot of people get into powder coating their bullets. I'm not going to get into that one on video. There's plenty of other people out there doing it far better than I can, but yes, I do powder coat my pistol bullets that are cast lead, but those are smokeless loads. I don't load any pistol bullets yet, black powder, other than my paper cartridges for cap and ball. So anyway, number one reason why I think, and again this is why I think, I haven't shot enough of these things to really understand the full benefits. I do know that the bullets fly better because the grease grooves in the side of the bullets at longer ranges creates more drag and decreases the BC of the bullet, so they don't fly as good beyond, I'm going to swag it, I'm going to guess, say beyond 400, 500 yards, because that seems to be the typical long range. That seems to be about where the long range starts with black powder rifle, black powder cartridge shooters. So I don't know exactly where they start considering what long range is and what long range isn't, and where the grease groove bullets start falling off the map as a inaccurate bullet at some point. So there's accuracy. The other issue is bullet lube and leading and preventing leading of the barrel. Again, I would really like to just stay away from that whole idea of lubing bullets and having the potential for a raw lead bullet touching the inside of my barrel and potentially creating problems with cleaning. I don't want to deal with that, so that's another reason why I have a desire to go paper patch. And then the whole accuracy thing, from what everybody tells me and from what I've seen with like Egbert and Kenny Wasserburger and another gentleman, Donaldson, I believe, is on the Facebook group page. The accuracy that you can attain with a paper patch bullet is going to, 9 chances out of 10, be far superior in the same cartridge. Apples to apples comparison, you know, in the same cartridge, is going to be far superior than anything you can do with a grease groove. So that said, again, I've only got like 80 some rounds down the barrel of my rifle. I only own one black powder cartridge rifle at this time. I'm probably going to buy, within the next 3 to 4 years, I'll probably buy another, I'll get a long range express from Shiloh in 45 110 and go that route. But anyway, so the number one thing you're going to need is some bullets and some paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the patches off of a couple of bullets to show you how well these things hold on. That'd be a good little, grab 5 of these. We'll show you how good these things stick. They're stuck on there relatively well. You know, this is almost like it's glued on. Comes off relatively easy, but it's still kind of glued on. Again, these are a Buffalo Arms Company bullet mold. These are the 446 545 grain money bullet. It's a base pour, and these are, from my markings on my boxes, these are pure lead, which I'm going to melt down and run these as a 14 or 16, probably 16 to 1 alloy. Anyway, okay, so paper. This came highly recommended from Mr. Egbert. This is Seth Cole paper. This is 1.2 thousandths of an inch thick. It's very, very thin paper. This is their 55Y or 55 yellow. It's slightly orange yellow tint paper. It's cheap. A ream of this stuff, 500 sheets, was like 35 bucks shipped. For me, that should be about a lifetime supply of paper. They also make a 55W, which is a white. It's slightly heavier. I believe that's an 8-pound paper. This is listed as a 7-pound paper, and it's relatively thin. I believe that you could probably use any paper for patching these bullets, so long as it's the right thickness and gets you to the right diameter when everything's said and done, for getting a bore diameter bullet into your rifle. And that's what we're patching for. We're not patching to groove, we're patching to bore, because I don't want to lose powder capacity in my cartridges, and I don't want to have to overly compress the powder to get the velocity that I want to get, with having a bullet that has to be seated so far into the case that you lose a lot of case capacity. Keep in mind also that we're running a 1/4 of an inch thick wad stack in there, which is the Wasserburger wad stack, which is a veg fiber, 60 thousandths veg fiber wad, a 60 thousandths poly wad, and a 1/8 inch thick wool felt wad, all stacked up, and we're using the veg fiber wad as our powder compression, and we're going anywhere between 380 and 420 for powder compression. I still got to play with that on the rifle, but you know, it is what it is. So you need a template. In the books that I mentioned in a previous video, go ahead and, you know, zip over to the other video, whatever, if you want to kill some more time. I listed out the 2 books that I recommend: Kenny Wasserburger's The Complete Black Powder Target Rifle Shooter, and the Beginner's Guide to Paper Patching Bullets by Randolph Wright. Anyway, there's plenty of instruction in there on making your template, sizing your patches, everything like that. I spent the time, I sheared this out of a piece of stainless steel, so it's not going to rust on me, and I've got it marked. I don't know if the camera will be able to pick that up. I'll hold it still and I'll do the zoom in on the editing. But anyway, it's marked. It says 446 money bullet, 55Y, Seth Cole paper, 2.812. So I even put the dimension on there, so if I ever lose, well, if I lose it, I won't have the dimension. But if I ever need to make another one, or if somebody asks me, hey, what are you using? Well, I can tell you. So this is what you use to cut it out with. Sharpest razor you can use, good to go. You'll need that. Recommend a little cutting mat, or even a larger cutting mat, whatever. These things are great. They're also bloody expensive, but these things are really good. That's my template for doing paper cartridges for my Colt, well, the Uberti copies of the Colt Walkers. So, anyway, and funnel, dropping stuff. Garage flat surfaces collect crap. So, the other thing here, I have a piece of really basic, I believe this is EPMD rubber. It's nothing special. I think I bought this off of eBay for about 15 bucks, something like that. What this does is it gives you a good solid surface that once things are wet, patches wet, things of that, you know, it doesn't move around. On the sponge is water with a little bit of alcohol, a little bit of isopropyl alcohol mixed in to get these patches. And the sponge is a little dry, so I'm just going to press a little bit. This sponge should actually be sitting on a saucer with a little bit of water in the base of it. So we set it up. Alright, so I went and added a little bit more water to the sponge, and as I'm sitting here talking, you know, so what we want to do is we want to I'm going to put that back on there so it doesn't dry out while I'm yapping. What we want to do is we want to patch the, and this is how you're going to size your patch. You want about 1/8 of an inch of overlap on the base of the patch, or the base of the bullet, excuse me. You want about 1/8 of an inch overlap on the base of the bullet where it comes over, but you also want that patch to go all the way up to where the ogive starts, so that you have no bearing surface of this bullet touching the barrel at all. And you want to go a little past that sometimes. If you're running a softer alloy, the nose of this bullet is going to bump up. And if you're running really soft lead, which is why I've got to remelt these things and get rid of this, they'll bump up quite a bit. And then you'll have, you know, 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 of an inch of ogive that is now coming in contact with the barrel, and that's too soft. Or you don't have enough protection on the base of the bullet. You don't have enough cushion with your wad stack to properly cushion and protect the base of the bullet, and the bullet's getting impacted really, really hard, which is causing the nose of the bullet to bump up. My theory, from what I've read, that seems to be the case. So don't quote me on that as being fact. You know, that's my opinion, my understanding, and I might be completely freaking wrong with that stuff. So anyway, so what we want to do is we want to patch this thing up right up to the ogive, and then just have a little bit of paper as an overlap to the base of the bullet. We don't want to go all the way to center or even overlap. This is a flat base bullet. If you had a nose pour that had a cavity in the base of the bullet, then you would leave a little tail and you could twist it up and compress it down in there. That is a traditional style from back in the day. Those bullets don't seem to fly as well as a base poured bullet that has a nice nose shape to it. So anyway, there's our bullet. Here's our patch. I'm going to make sure this thing is wet. We don't want it soaked, and these things become really, really fragile while you do this. So I slide this thing up until the edge of the short corner here is at the edge of the paper, and then I try to push out all the air. This makes for a really, really smooth roll. And then what we're doing is I'm eyeballing about 1/8 of an inch up. That puts me right at where the ogive is. I'm going to pick up this point, bullet tip. The business end of the bullet is to my right. And now how you align this is you eyeball the paper at the top of the bullet here, and if that line, that edge of that paper matches up with this edge of this paper, you know you're pretty straight. And then you can just roll this guy up. Okay. So after a little minor malfunction with the camera and filling up the memory card on there, so we'll go over this again from start to finish as if nothing ever happened, even though I've got 2 bullets up here patched already. So anyway, we're going to get the patch wet, obviously. Water and alcohol. No real reason to go 50-50. You can go like 20% alcohol, isopropyl alcohol with a little bit of water. Bottled water and or distilled would be preferable. You could probably use tap. I'll probably get a reminder from some of the guys that only use distilled or well water or something like that, you know. I push out the air bubbles in the patch with the bullet. That produces a much more even patch, more even tension, and less wrinkles on the bullet. And then you want to bring that point up, line yourself up with the edge of the paper here. I'll do in the next one, and I'll give you a better view of this with my hands not being in the way. And then you line this edge of the paper up here, eyeball it to this edge, and then twist the bullet as you need to point that edge of that paper to this edge of the paper to get yourself lined up, and then give it a little bit of reverse. You know, you're pulling backwards just a touch to keep a little bit of tension on everything as you roll it, and then roll it right up. Like I said, we're using about 1/8 of an inch of overlap at the base, so that will leave us a little bit of a overlap here. Paper should not meet in the middle of the base of the bullet. And then we're going to go ahead and pinch this thing. And that's how I hold this and pinch this when I'm doing this. And this patch, I pulled it just a little too hard, stretched it just a little too much, because there's a slight overlap on the patch itself. So let's see if I can reposition the camera and do it straight on frickin' overhead shot here. See if I can do that. All right, patch is soaked. We're gonna lay it back down here on the rubber pad. Got a wrinkle in it. As you can see, I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. So 1/8 of an inch up from the edge, you know, right there. Pick the point up like that. I can see that and you did, yeah, I hope the camera picked that up. Probably not. I just twisted the bullet a little bit because the bullet was crooked on the patch. And it slid my corner over in perfect alignment with the edge of the paper here. What I do need to do, and I did forget to do, is I need to push out the air bubbles, and then we can do this again. Again, we're trying to get this edge of this paper lined up with this edge of the paper, perfectly pointed at each other, so that when we roll this, everything rolls up perfectly, and you don't have a barber pole going on with the paper getting wrapped on there a little crooked. That's all I do. That's it right there. So a little bit of air pockets. Paper's a little darker toward the top. That means it's off the ogive a little bit, and then gently pinch this over till you're about there. And then what I do is I roll this onto my thumb, and then I start pinching with these fingers. I start pinching like that, and that kind of makes the crease at the corner, the base of the bullet, and then I kind of bring it up. Try not to rub my fingernails on it, and that seats it up nice and tight on the bottom, gives a little spiral, everything's nice and snug. Patch is a little long for these bullets because the overlap is not exactly correct. Again, I'm learning, and I will have to correct that. You know, these are things we have to work on. So again, with the lay the patch down, smooth out get the air bubbles out from underneath the patch, eyeball over 1/8 of an inch, bring the point up, get my hands out of the way of the camera, and I'm going to give this just a little twist like that, and that aligns my edge of my paper up to this, to the edge, and it's not quite perfect. There we go. Correct it now before you roll it up, and then we just roll it up. That's a better patch. and then I roll it around and do the little, form the base up, give it a little firm pressure. I'm squeezing more with my index and middle finger than I am pushing against my thumb. And then you get that. Highly suggest you get yourself a little coffee warmer, a small hot plate, but you know, just a warmer. That will help dry these things out quicker, so you can move through your process better. Again, Seth Cole paper. If you want it thicker, get the 55W. I believe that paper is about 1.5 to 1.7 thousandths thick. This is the 55 yellow. It is 1.2 thousandths thick. And yes, I do have a tense mic. I have a couple of tense mics. 3 Starretts and 2 Mitsutoyos. My 2 Mitsutoyos will measure to 50 millionths. Well, they claim to measure down to 50 millionths. I don't have a gauge pin to verify, but you know, how often am I working to 50 millionths? Anyway, and then when these things dry, they will be right at, with a little bit of shrinkage, these things will be right at 0.450, maybe 4498. Kenny and Ian and a lot of the other guys, they highly recommend paper should be about a half a thou. Once they're patched up to diameter, it should be about a half a thou above your bore diameter. So like a 0.4505, 0.450235, somewhere in there. Just a little bit larger than bore, but not like a thou over, not a 451. So that's it. You need a sponge, water, alcohol, proper paper, a template. Oh, and the other thing is the angle on the template. That's discussed in the books that I recommended. It's just a 30-degree angle. If you're off, just make sure that this angle, the angle on the front and the back, are the same, or as close to the same as possible, so that when these two edges line up on your bullet, that they actually line up and they don't leave a huge gap, or they don't have a huge overlap. You're trying to get the most consistent diameter on this stuff as you possibly can. I don't personally apply lube to the paper patch. There are some guys out there who apply lube to the patch before they seat it into the case. I don't do that, and I don't know of anybody who really does that with any kind of real success. I don't think it's necessary. If this helped you guys, yeah, look at that haircut too. That other rag mop had to go. If this stuff helps you guys, good. Like I said, I'm learning. You don't see a whole lot of videos posted by real experts. You always see some amateur trying to do the best they can, because they're like, hey, look what I can do. Well, hey, look what I can do. But yeah, if you guys get anything out of it, good. Again, if you guys got any suggestions, people that know better than me got some suggestions, leave them in the comments. If you don't like the videos or whatever, hey, give it a thumbs down. Leave it in the comments. I don't care. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not going to respond to that garbage. I don't play those games. But if you got anything out of it, good for you. If it helps you in your pursuit, good for you as well. So anyway, that's all I've got. I'm going to edit this thing down, see if we can keep it real short, and you guys have a good one. Take care. Out.